Hi everybody. So in class today we started talking about tree diagrams. Tree diagrams are kind of a weird thing, but they're pretty useful when it comes to writing out and organizing all the options that you would have whenever you combine several events. So let's kind of dig into tree diagrams and figure them out a little bit more. Tree diagrams show what all the combined outcomes are. All right. So the reason they're called tree diagrams is because they look like a tree with branches. Um, Usually what you do is you create levels in your tree diagram, and each event that you're combining makes up a level. The levels are all connected with different branches. All right. And each of your events are independent, and so that means that they can be repeated as you continue. All right, so let's look at an example of a tree diagram. So we're going to make a tree diagram for flipping a coin and then rolling a die. So our first level in our tree diagram is going to be flipping the coin, and we're going to list all the outcomes for flipping a coin, which is heads and tails. All right, and then our second level of our tree diagram is going to be all the outcomes you get when rolling a die. And we're going to connect our outcomes with our branches. So here's what our tree diagram will end up looking like whenever we draw it all out. So as you can see right here, this is our first level, the heads. This is our second level, tails. Actually, I said that wrong. This whole thing is the first level, flipping the coin. And these are the two outcomes of flipping the coin, heads and tails. And this makes up one level. So I'll go to my trusty pen, and this is level 1, flipping the coin. Those are the two outcomes. Down here we have level 2, which is rolling the die. So as you can see, the outcome for rolling a die is just 1 through 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we connect these outcomes to the outcomes from level 1 through these branches. All right, so you can see that I've repeated the outcomes for rolling the die, and that's because that no matter what you get with the coin, you can also get the same outcome whenever you roll the die. So the outcomes we can get here, this helps us organize our outcomes when we can write them out. So we can get a heads and a number 1, a heads and a number 2, a heads and a number 3, a heads and a number 4, a heads and a number 5, a heads and a number 6. We can also get a tails and a number 1, a tails and a number 2, a tails and a number 3, a tails and a number 4, and a tails and a number 5. Finally, you can get a tails and a number 6. All right, those are all the possible outcomes we can get there. Let's practice a couple more. Let's clear our ink. All right, so you're scheduling your classes for next year. You can pick either PE or choir for your first semester, and you can pick either STEM, art, or Healthy Warrior for your first grading period. So our two levels are going to be our semester classes, and our the second level is going to be the first grading period classes. So our first level is going to be made up of either gym or choir, and then the second level is going to be STEM, art, or Healthy Warrior. All right. So to make my tree diagram for level 1, I list my two possible outcomes. I can either get PE or choir. For the sake of space, I'm just going to abbreviate everything. All right, so those are the two possible outcomes for level 1. So for level 2, I can either get STEM, art, or Healthy Warrior. So I'm going to have 3 branches here for level 2. STEM, art, or Healthy Warrior. All right, so that is if I pick gym for my first semester class. Well, if I pick choir for my first semester class, I can also get STEM, art, or Healthy Warrior. So all the possible outcomes here are PE stem, PE art, PE health, or choir stem, choir art, or choir health, healthy warrior. All right, so I've got 6 possible outcomes here for this situation. All right, for the next problem here, we've got 3 different dress shirts and 4 different ties. All right, so our levels are going to be shirts and ties. In level 1, we have 3 choices, and this particular problem doesn't tell us what the difference is. So we can just number the shirts. So I've got shirt 1. I might want to label my first level here is all about the shirts. So I got shirt 1, I've got shirt 2, and I've got shirt 3. All right, now for my ties, once again, we don't know the difference in our ties, so you can just number them. Tie 1, tie 2, tie 3, and tie 4. Tie 1, tie 2, tie 3, tie 4. And I'm not going to write out all the outcomes here, but as you can see, the different combinations. I could have shirt 1 and tie 1, shirt 1 and tie 2, shirt 1 and tie 3, shirt 1 and tie 4, shirt 2 and tie 1, shirt 2 and tie 2, and so on all the way through. And I would have 12 different outcomes. So that's how you make tree diagrams. Some like notes on setting up your tree diagrams. You should always give yourself some space to work with, because as you can see, tree diagrams can easily become very cluttered, and everything can get squished close together, and then they get difficult to read. So you don't want that. The other thing about tree diagrams is they're really only useful if you have a low number of outcomes. You don't want to make a tree diagram if you've got like 64 possible outcomes for something. It works mostly when you're dealing with like maybe 16 outcomes or less. Otherwise, it's just way too much. You know, why go through all that? So anyway, this has been a little tutorial on tree diagrams, and I hope that it's helped you understand.